Hello, hello, Josh Matthews Morgan here. And I just wanted to tell a quick story today about a lady that I helped make sense of her past and how her past was affecting her current life. See, one of our core values and part of our core philosophy in our coaching is that you make sense. There's always a perfectly logical, reasonable explanation for why you feel the way you do, why you behave the way you do, why you might be, dealing with self-sabotage or living small or holding yourself back in some way. There's always, you can always make sense of it. And it always ties in with your past in some way. They exist because of past experiences, right? These emotional blocks that we have. So I'm gonna tell a quick story about that. I was recently asked, in fact, I think it was last week, to do a presentation for a mastermind group of gym owners, and I was going to do a demonstration of the erase and replace technique and show them how you can delete a limiting belief in around 10 minutes or less. Well, I had a volunteer for this, and this lady was kind of dealing with a mental block around her business, around growing her business specifically. And when we talked for a little bit and figured out that it's because she was afraid that if her business got too big, that some of the people wouldn't be seen. Some of her clients would sort of fall through the cracks, or they wouldn't get the care and the attention that they're used to getting from when she was small. And after talking through it a bit, um, I helped her, make the connection to a past experience. Why she was having such an intense reaction and such a negative emotion around growing her business was because when she was younger, she was in high school. She got bullied in high school, and um, without going, we didn't go super deep into the story because we didn't have a lot of time. But basically, uh, I think she moved to a new school and she was ostracized from that school, and a lot of very clicky, and then the people would just not pay her any attention. And that was the gist of what I understood to happen. So she felt like she wasn't seen, she wasn't respected, she wasn't seen. And it was really, really painful for her, really hurtful for her to have that experience. And I asked her, are you afraid that something like that might happen to your clients? And she was like, oh yeah, that's it. Like, she had never really put two and two together before with her past experiences. So um, she said I'd never made that connection between, what happened to me in high school and my current, my business. Excuse me. And I said, well, it makes perfect sense given what you lived, right? And there's a new saying that I have actually come across recently, and the saying is, if it's hysterical, it's historical, which is kind of a funny saying, but what it really means is if you have a really strong negative feeling tied in with something about your current life or situation, that feeling 99 times out of 100 comes from somewhere in your past, right? And the connection might not always be obvious or apparent. There's a lot of people walking around who haven't fully connected the dots between what they lived in the past, maybe in childhood or young adulthood or whatever, between those difficult past experiences and their current struggles. And they might just be walking around feeling anxious, for example, or worried, but they don't really know the root cause. Like in her example, she didn't think that her bullying experience is what was creating the discomfort with growing her business, right? But your limiting beliefs, these feelings, they exist for a perfectly good, logically explainable reason. And someone who, if someone didn't have that same experience, they wouldn't have that same belief or that same fear. It wouldn't make sense to them that you might be afraid of that growing your business, so that, I can't grow my business because people might not be seen. So one thing that we know in all of our work with what we call the emotional brain is that it really uses the past to predict the future as best as it can. Um, Meaning it looks at the current lens of your current reality through the lens of the past and your past lived experiences. The goal, though, of the emotional brain is not to make an accurate prediction necessarily. It doesn't look at all the factors and calculate the likelihood and then say, oh, okay, now I'm going to freak out. Oh, now I'm going to have this negative feeling. There's a 95% chance that this might happen. It doesn't work like that, right? If there's any possibility of a bad thing that happened in your past repeating itself, or repeating in your experience, your emotional brain's going to avoid that at all costs, right? It's going to do whatever it takes whatever it can to stop that experience, including coming up with a strategy that, look, I can't grow my business. That just means I can't grow my business because this bad thing might happen, right? So it's really important though to deal with these feelings as real and as valid objections. This is a really big mistake a lot of people in the mindset world make, is that they try to like overcome this objection or try to shift the perspective too soon, right? They try to use facts or logic, things like that, to get you to see that it might be irrational or something like that, or that look at it from this different perspective. What if you just did this instead? Um, and in our experience, that is not really the right way to approach it, at least not initially, because it really invalidates the experience of the real feelings and the real emotions that are coming up for someone if you're just trying to just get them to see it differently without dealing with that emotion and without being attuned to it and responsive to it, or doing some kind of technique that can deal with the emotion first. So um, these negative experiences from our past are very deeply imprinted in our emotional brain. And because of that stored emotion alongside of the experience, it's not just like you can just snap your fingers and see it differently, right? So you got to do something to deal with the emotional piece to it first. And that's why we love the erase and replace technique, which I've talked about in other videos and have demonstrations of in other videos. I did use this technique with her once we discovered the belief, and it shifted very quickly for her within minutes. And she told me just spontaneously, I started like thinking like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that. Like I can just hire more people, or I can do this other thing to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. In other words, her emotional brain started shifting from problem focus into like a solution focus. Um, Now I could have offered those as suggestions before we had dealt with the emotion, but it wouldn't really have been as effective because she still would have had those negative feelings and that fear that something bad would repeat itself, right? So luckily, she was the guinea pig for this and was able to experience this live and in person in that workshop. So yeah, a big part of what we do is helping people make sense of the past. It really is. And the past is alive. The past is alive, and it's activated, just waiting to be activated by your everyday experience. Unless you do something to reprocess it, to change the emotions and the meanings that got attached to those past experiences. And you don't have to like go through your whole past and relive the whole thing and talk about it ad nauseum. That's what a lot of talk therapy does, and it's not effective. It doesn't change things. But you might need to, sort of surgically go in and figure out what fears do I have, what negative emotions have gotten created from this event, and how are they impacting me today, right? So if you feel like you're in her position, you feel like you might be holding yourself back in some way, but you don't really know why, I would invite you to schedule a free breakthrough session with me. Our gifts, what we're exceptionally good at, is helping shine a light on those subconscious feelings and beliefs and helping make sense of the past. And if it's a fit to work together, we will share all of our tools and resources to help you not only make sense of your past experiences, but overcome them, be able to shift your feelings around them so that they no longer negatively influence your business and your present reality. So we got lots of tools in our toolkit to help people do that. And that's what we're most passionate about doing is sharing those tools with people. So sign up for a free breakthrough session if this resonates with you in any way. And hope you enjoyed this story. And just remember that you do make sense. Your past makes sense. And if you're dealing with a struggle that you think might be informed from your past, it probably is. So, all right, I'm going to sign off now.